I thought love would save me. I thought second chances were beautiful. But sometimes, second chances hide dangerous secrets. I married a man who was already divorced. People warned me. They said, "A broken past will break you too." I didn't listen. I trusted him. I believed his smile, his soft words, his promises of forever. But love is not always safe. And one night, I discovered a truth. So heavy, so dark. It destroyed everything I believed in. When I first married him, I thought my life was finally complete. He was older than me, more experienced, and yes, he was divorced. But I told myself, the past is past. It does not matter, because love can begin again, because hearts can heal. On the first morning of our marriage, he brought me tea in bed, his smile warm, his eyes gentle, and he said softly, "You are my new beginning." Those words touched me. I believed them deeply. I felt special, like I was the only one he wanted now. Our house was small, but it was full of laughter. We decorated together, chose curtains, painted walls, argued playfully about colors, and then laughed until tears came. Every corner of the house held our story. Every chair, every plate, even the old sofa, had memories of us. He worked in an office, long hours, but he always called me at lunch, just to say, "I miss you," just to hear my voice. Sometimes, I cooked his favorite dishes, chicken curry, or spicy rice. He would taste them, smile wide, and say, "You cook better than anyone else." My heart felt proud, because he made me feel valued, loved, hated. In the evenings, we sat on the balcony, shared tea, watched the sunset. He talked about his dreams, buying a bigger house one day, traveling together, maybe even starting a business. And I listened, smiling, believing every word. Because when you love someone, you believe their dreams are yours too. His family welcomed me too. His mother hugged me. She said, "You are a blessing in his life. He is finally happy again." Those words warmed my heart. I felt accepted. I felt like I belonged, not only with him, but with his world too. We went to family dinners, birthdays, weddings. Everyone smiled at us. People said, "You two look perfect together." And I believed them, because in those moments, we did look perfect, hand in hand, smiling at each other. He whispering small jokes in my ear, me trying not to laugh too loudly. It felt like a fairy tale, a second chance, a proof that broken people can still find love. That love can grow even in cracked soil. Sometimes at night, I thought of his past, his first marriage, but he held me close, kissed my forehead, and said, "You are different. You are the one I was waiting for." Those words erased my doubts, at least for a while. On weekends, we went for walks in the park. Children ran around us, families laughed, and he whispered, "One day, we will have this too." I blushed, smiled, dreamed of that future. A home with children, laughter in the rooms, and us growing old together. Friends visited us sometimes. We played games, cooked food, laughed until late. And when they left, he would hold my hand and say, "See, we are happy. We have everything we need." And I believed him, because it felt true. I trusted him more than anyone. He was not just my husband. He was my best friend, my partner, my safe place. Nights were warm, days were bright. Even simple moments felt special. Buying vegetables together, fixing a broken chair, watching movies on the sofa. Everything became a memory. Everything felt like love. Sometimes he teased me, called me silly, and I laughed. Sometimes I teased him back, and he pretended to be angry, but then hugged me tight, until I could not stop smiling. Life was not rich, but it was full. Not big, but complete. And in those days, I thought, nothing could ever break us. Nothing could ever come between us, because we had love, and I believed love was enough. But life has a way of showing you that love is sometimes not enough. And though I did not know it then, the cracks had already begun. Small, invisible, but waiting to grow. For now, I was still in my dream, still in my fairy tale, still blind to the storm that was coming closer every single day. He was not just my husband, he was my world, my safe place, my reason to smile every day. Every morning, he touched my hand softly before leaving for work and said, "Don't forget, I love you." Those small words stayed with me all day. They were like light that carried me through the hours. I waited for his call every lunch break, and without fail, the phone rang. "Have you eaten?" he asked. "Don't skip your food." His voice warm, caring. I laughed sometimes. "You act like my father." And he laughed back. No, I act like a man who wants his wife strong. It felt beautiful to be cared for like that, to feel like I mattered more than anything else in his world. In the evenings, we sat together on the balcony, talking about everything: work, friends, dreams, even silly little things. Sometimes he listened quietly, nodding with soft eyes. Sometimes he spoke for hours, about his plans, about us, about tomorrow. And always, I felt safe, like whatever came, we would face it together. On weekends, we took long walks, holding hands, talking about our future. He promised me trips, a new home one day, maybe even children. And I believed, because when he spoke, his voice carried hope. I remember one Sunday, we cooked together, the kitchen messy, flour on my face, spices spilled everywhere, and we laughed so hard that neighbors knocked to ask, "What is so funny?" It was nothing big, but in that moment, it felt like happiness itself. He sang sometimes, not well, but with heart, and I teased him, "You should never sing outside this house." He laughed, and then sang louder, just to make me laugh more. He gave me small gifts too, a bracelet once, a scarf another time, even a flower from the roadside, and each one felt more precious than gold. Because it was not the thing, it was the thought, the way he looked at me, the way he said, "This made me think of you." At night, he told me stories of his childhood, of his dreams, of his first heartbreak, of his fears. I listened quietly, every word a piece of him, every story a window to his heart. He trusted me with secrets, and I trusted him with mine. It felt like we were two souls, joined not just by marriage, but by something deeper. Sometimes we sat in silence, not speaking, just holding hands, just breathing together. And even silence felt full. Even silence felt like love. We celebrated small victories, like when he got a raise at work. We ordered food and laughed like children. Or when I finished a project, he hugged me tight and said, "I'm proud of you." He never forgot birthdays or anniversaries. He always found a way to make me feel special. One night, he arranged a small dinner at home, candles on the table, music soft in the background. He held my hand across the table and whispered, "Thank you for choosing me. Thank you for giving me another chance at life." Tears filled my eyes because I felt his words. I believed every one of them. I thought, this is love. This is forever. This is what I dreamed of. Even his mother said one day, "You two are meant for each other." I can see it in his eyes. He has peace now. Her words made my heart swell because even his family believed in us, believed in our bond. I told myself often, yes, he is divorced. Yes, he had a past. But now, he is mine, and I am his, and together, we will build a life stronger than before. I trusted him completely. If someone asked me, would he ever hurt you? I would laugh and answer, never. He loves me too much. And in those days, I meant it. I believed it with all my heart. Because sometimes, love blinds you. It makes you believe that nothing can ever go wrong. It makes you believe that if you give your whole heart, the other person will protect it, always, forever. I didn't know then that trust can break, that promises can fade, that even the deepest bond can be shattered. For now, all I knew was love. All I knew was closeness. All I knew was the safety of his arms and the warmth of his smile. And in that illusion, I lived happily, blindly, believing that we were unbreakable. In the beginning, everything felt perfect, but slowly, I started to notice small changes. At first, I told myself it was nothing, just stress from work, just normal life. But deep inside, I felt something shifting. He started coming home late, not always, but sometimes. And when I asked, he said softly, "Work is busy." I believed him, of course, because why would I doubt him? He had always been honest, always been open. But still, something inside me felt uneasy, like a quiet whisper, telling me something is not right. Some nights, he sat silent, lost in thought. I asked, "What's wrong?" He smiled faintly and said, "Nothing, just tired." And I nodded, tried to believe, but the distance was growing. When I touched his hand, he still held it, but not as tightly, not as warmly. The warmth was fading. At family dinners, he laughed less, spoke less, and sometimes he looked far away, even when sitting right beside me. I told myself, maybe this is marriage. Maybe love changes after time. Maybe passion becomes quiet, and that is normal. But then, small lies appeared. One evening, he said he was at the office. But later, I found a movie ticket in his pocket. My heart sank, but I told myself, maybe he went with a colleague. Maybe he didn't tell me, because he thought it was not important. I wanted to believe that. I needed to believe that, because the truth was too heavy to face. Sometimes, he smelled of a perfume that was not mine. A sweet scent, strange, unfamiliar. I asked once. He laughed. Said a woman at the office sprayed too much, that it stuck to his clothes. I forced a smile, but inside, a seed of doubt grew. He became protective of his phone. Before, he left it anywhere, even in the kitchen, even in the living room. But now, it never left his pocket. At night, he faced the other side, his back towards me, breathing heavy, as if carrying a weight, but not sharing it with me. I told myself, he is just stressed. He needs time. But the distance kept growing. My friends noticed too. One of them whispered, "Is everything okay? He seems different." I smiled and said, "Yes, he's just busy." Even when I wasn't sure myself, his laughter became rare. His eyes, once so full of warmth, now seemed guarded, like doors half closed. We still had good days. We still had moments, but they were fewer and shorter, like clouds covering the sun, and only sometimes the light broke through. One evening, we argued, not a big fight, but something small. I asked why he was late. He snapped, "I told you, work is hard. Stop asking." I went silent, because it wasn't the words, it was the tone. Sharp, cold, unlike him. Later that night, he apologized, held my hand, said, "I'm sorry, I didn't mean to hurt you." And I forgave him, because I always did. But forgiveness cannot erase the cracks, it only hides them for a while. Sometimes, I caught him smiling at his phone, typing quickly, and when I asked, "Who is it?" he said, "Just a friend." And I wanted to believe him, but deep down, the whisper inside me grew louder. Something is wrong. At night, I lay awake, staring at the ceiling, wondering if love can fade, if promises can be broken, if I was just pretending to be happy. I remembered his words, "You are my new beginning." And I asked myself, am I still his beginning? Or has he already found another? But I silenced those thoughts because I was afraid. Afraid of the truth. Afraid of losing him. Afraid of being alone. So I smiled in the mornings, cooked his favorite meals, waited for his calls, even when sometimes they never came. And I told myself, love is enough. Love will fix this. Love will bring him back to me. But deep inside, I knew the fairy tale was breaking. The dream was fading. And soon, something would shatter completely. The days turned into weeks, and the weeks into months, but the distance between us kept growing silently. I tried to hold on. I tried to bring him back. With love, with patience, with hope. I planned small surprises, cooked his favorite food, left sweet notes in his wallet, even bought him a new watch, just to remind him that I cared, that I was still here. He smiled sometimes, said thank you, but his eyes were somewhere else. It was not the same smile, not the same warmth. It felt like he was with me, but his heart was drifting away. One night, I asked him softly, "Do you still love me?" He looked at me, paused, and then said, "Of course. Why do you ask that?" I smiled weakly, but inside, his pause spoke louder than his answer. He had never paused before, never hesitated. Love had always been quick on his lips. Now it felt like a duty, not a truth. I told myself again, maybe I'm overthinking, maybe marriage changes, maybe love becomes quiet, less fire, more routine. But then, the lies became clearer. He said he was working late, but his shirt smelled of perfume again, this time stronger. Not something from the office air, something close, something real. My heart pounded, but I stayed silent, because asking would mean hearing the truth. And the truth terrified me. He stopped sharing stories, stopped laughing like before. Our balcony evenings grew rare. Our long walks ended. Even his mother noticed. She asked softly, "Is everything okay between you two?" I forced a smile, said yes, but my voice cracked. Even she felt it. Sometimes at night, I saw him staring at his phone, typing quickly, then locking it when I came close. Once, I heard him whisper, and when I asked, he said, "It's just office work." But his voice was too soft, too careful, like a man hiding something. My dreams of children, of a bigger home, of traveling together, felt like distant clouds, moving further and further away. I tried to hold him close, but he pulled away gently, saying he was tired or not in the mood, and I cried silently, in the dark, while he slept peacefully beside me. One evening, he came home late again, smelling of perfume, looking distant, and when I asked where he was, he snapped, "Why do you always question me? Don't you trust me?" My lips trembled, my heart broke, because trust was all I ever gave him, and now, he was using it against me. I went silent, but inside, a storm was rising, fear, anger, and the beginning of doubt. I remembered all the times he said I was his new beginning. I remembered his promises of forever, of love, of dreams together, and I asked myself quietly, was it all real? Or was I just filling the empty space after his divorce? That thought burned me, because I loved him truly, but maybe, for him, I was only temporary. I started noticing more signs. Missed calls from unknown numbers, messages he had quickly, sudden late nights, excuses that didn't fit. My friends warned me. One even said, sometimes divorced men carry their past into their new life. Be careful. I defended him, every time, because I couldn't accept that my love could betray me, but the truth was close. I could feel it, like standing near fire. Even when I couldn't see the flames, the heat told me it was there, waiting to burn me. And then one night, he whispered another woman's name in his sleep. Not mine, not anyone I knew. A name that made my blood run cold. I stared at him as he slept peacefully, and in that moment, I knew the storm was no longer far. It was here, inside my own home. The fairy tale, the dream, the safety, all of it was cracking loudly now. And deep inside, I felt it. Something was about to break, forever. The night he whispered her name in his sleep, something inside me broke. It was not just a mistake. It was not just a dream. It was a truth, slipping out of his lips, from a place deeper than lies could hide. I stared at him, the man I trusted, the man I gave my heart to, the man who promised me forever. And yet, his dreams carried another woman. The next morning, I tried to act normal. I made breakfast, poured tea, but my hands shook, my chest felt heavy, my eyes burned with unshed tears. I watched him eat calmly, as if nothing had happened, as if my world had not cracked open, and I whispered softly, "Who is she?" He froze, looked up, confused. "Who?" he asked. I swallowed hard. "The name you said last night in your sleep." His face changed, just for a second. His eyes widened, then narrowed, and he laughed softly. "You're imagining things. You must have dreamed it." But I knew the truth. I heard it, clear, sharp like a knife in the dark. That day, I couldn't sit still. I paced the house. Every memory of us, every promise, every smile, now felt poisoned. The calls he made, the perfume on his shirt, the sudden late nights. It all connected now, like broken pieces forming a cruel picture. When he came home that evening, I searched his eyes, looking for guilt, looking for answers, but all I saw was distance and shadows. "Do you love me?" I asked again. This time my voice trembled. This time my heart already knew the answer. He sighed, looked away, and said quietly, "Don't ask me such things." It was not a no, but it was not a yes either. It was worse. It was silence dressed as mercy. That night, while he slept, I picked up his phone. My hands shook. My breath caught. But I unlocked it quietly, and there it was. Her messages, dozens of them. Her name glowing on the screen. Sweet words, secret jokes, even pictures. My eyes blurred with tears. My chest felt like it was on fire. I scrolled through, each message stabbing me. Each "I miss you," a knife in my heart. And then, the worst one, his reply to her. "I feel alive with you. I never felt this free before." I dropped the phone. My knees gave way. I sank to the floor, silent screams tearing through me, because the man I trusted, the man who promised me new beginnings, was giving those promises to someone else. The betrayal was clear now. No more lies. No more doubts. The truth was written in those messages. The truth was living in his phone. The truth was sleeping in my bed. I wanted to shake him awake. Scream. Shout. Ask him why. Ask him how. But my voice was gone. My strength stolen by the weight of his betrayal. For days, I moved like a shadow, pretending to smile, pretending to live. But inside, I was dying. He laughed on calls. He typed quickly when I turned away. And every sound, every vibration of his phone felt like a knife twisting deeper. I asked myself, am I not enough? Am I just a replacement? Am I just a temporary shelter until he found love again? The answers. All hurt. All burned. I wanted to leave. I wanted to pack my bags and walk away. But love is cruel. It chains you to the one who hurts you. It whispers, maybe he will come back. Maybe he still loves you. But with every day, that whisper grew weaker. And another voice, a darker voice, began to rise inside me. It said, he betrayed you. He lied to you. He destroyed your trust. Make him feel the same pain. At first, I tried to silence it, but the more I saw him smile at his phone, the more I heard him laugh secretly, the more the voice grew. It wasn't just pain anymore. It was anger, rage, a hunger for justice, or maybe revenge. One evening, I stood in front of the mirror, my reflection tired, eyes swollen from tears, heart heavy with scars, and I whispered to myself, he made me feel small, broken, empty, but I will not stay broken. I will not let him win. He will feel what I felt. That was the night. The seed of revenge was planted, and slowly, dangerously, it began to grow. After I saw the messages, after I saw her name glowing on his phone, I could not unsee it. I could not forget it. The truth lived in my head, day and night, burning me slowly. I cooked for him, but I hated every bite he took. I washed his clothes, but every shirt smelled of her perfume. I looked at his face, but all I saw was a liar, a man who broke me, piece by piece. He came home late again, with excuses ready. Traffic was bad. Boss needed me. Work never ends. And I smiled weakly, pretended to believe. But inside, my anger boiled. One night, when he left his phone on the table, I picked it up again. This time my hands didn't shake. This time my heart didn't race. Because now, I was stronger, colder. The messages were still there. More pictures, more words, more betrayal. And one line, that killed me again. I wish I could spend every night with you instead. Instead of who? Instead of me, his wife, his so-called new beginning. I put the phone down, sat in silence, and a thought entered my mind. Not just anger, not just pain, but a plan. If he can lie, I can lie too. If he can hurt me, I can hurt him too. At first, the thought scared me, because revenge is not easy. It is dangerous. It can break everything. It can even break me. But then, another voice whispered inside me. He already broke you. What else is left to lose? From that night, I began to watch him closely. Every move, every word, every excuse. I learned his patterns. When he left home, when he returned, when he texted her, when he smiled at his screen. I memorized it all. Because if I was going to strike, I had to strike, right? Carefully, perfectly. Days turned into nights, nights into weeks, and my plan started to grow, piece by piece, step by step. But planning revenge is not simple. It is heavy. It is dangerous. Because one mistake, and everything falls apart. What if he finds out? I thought. What if someone discovers it was me? What if his family turns against me? The fear was real. It sat inside my chest, like a stone pressing down. But still, the fire of revenge burned brighter. I remembered his laughter, while I cried silently in the bathroom. I remembered his gentle lies, while he held me with hands that smelled of another woman's perfume. And I knew I could not forgive. I could not forget. I wanted him to feel my pain, to taste his own betrayal, to lose what he thought was safe, to watch his world crumble, the way he made mine crumble. So I started small. I checked his wallet, his pockets, his bags, and each time, I found tiny clues, receipts, numbers, notes, all pieces of his secret life. I kept them hidden, like weapons, waiting for the right time. The thought of revenge thrilled me, made my blood race, gave me power again. Because for weeks, I had felt powerless, like a victim. But now, I was no longer a victim. I was a hunter, and he was my prey. But still, the fear never left. What if someone finds out? What if my plan fails? What if I lose everything? I lived with that fear. I carried it like a shadow. But alongside it, I carried anger. And anger was heavier, stronger, louder. I started practicing lies, like him. When he asked where I went, I smiled softly, said just shopping. But inside, I was preparing my moves. When he left for work, I followed once, not close enough to be seen, but far enough to watch. And yes, I saw him, with her. They laughed together. His hand brushed hers, his smile wide. The same smile that once belonged to me. My heart cracked again, but this time, tears didn't fall. Instead, A cold calm filled me. Yes, he deserves what is coming. That night, I looked at him while he slept, and I whispered silently, "You think you fooled me, but you don't know. I'm already planning, and soon you will feel everything I felt." The plan was dangerous. It had to be perfect. It had to look natural, like it wasn't me, like it was just life punishing him. Because if someone found out, if he discovered it was me, everything would collapse, and I would be the villain. So I played my role, the loving wife, the patient partner, the quiet believer. While inside, I sharpened my revenge. The risk was real, but the fire inside me was stronger. Stronger than fear, stronger than love, stronger than reason. And now, there was no turning back. Because once the seed of revenge grows, it doesn't stop. It demands water, it demands blood, and I was ready to give it everything. The fire inside me was no longer just a thought. It became action. It became movement. Every day, I studied him, his words, his habits, his excuses, his lies. I knew when he smiled at his phone. It was her. I knew when he left for work. It was her. I knew when he came home late. His heart was not with me. It was with her. And so, I began to plan, not in anger, but in cold silence. Because revenge needs patience. Revenge needs control. The first thing I did was gather proof, not for him, but for myself. Because sometimes the heart still doubts, even when the eyes see truth. So I collected screenshots of messages, receipts from his wallet, perfume stains on his shirts, and I kept them hidden, locked away, like weapons, waiting for their time. The second thing I did was watch her. I learned her name, her face, her workplace, her routines. I saw her once, by accident, or maybe not. Maybe fate wanted me to. She was laughing with her friends, bright, young, confident, and I thought, so this is the woman who stole my husband's love. Anger burned through me, but I stayed calm, because anger without control is weakness, and I could not be weak now. I started small, testing the waters. One evening, I placed her name softly in our conversation, pretending I heard it from someone, and I watched his face. He froze for a second, then quickly smiled and said, "Oh, she just works in the same office. Nothing else. Nothing else." But his eyes told another story. His eyes always told the truth. That night, I made my first move. He left his phone charging, and I sent her a message from his number. Just 4 words. "I can't meet tonight." And then I waited. Minutes later, her reply came, disappointed, sad, full of longing. I smiled coldly, because even this small interruption made her restless, made her miss him, made her question him. When he saw her message later, he frowned, confused, but he didn't say anything to me, because he didn't know that I was watching, that I was already playing. The next week, I made another move. He left his email open, and I sent an anonymous message to his boss, saying he was leaving work early, often, that he was distracted, that maybe he was hiding something. It was a small strike, a test, a warning shot. The next day, he came home angry, said his boss questioned him, asked why his performance was slipping. He shouted at me, took out his stress on me, but I stood silent, because deep inside, I was smiling. This was only the beginning. Each small move was like a stone dropped in water. The ripples spread, slow, but certain, and with each ripple, he grew more restless, more distracted, more tired. I watched him struggle, watched him lie harder, watched him dig his own grave, and still, I played my role, the quiet wife, the patient listener, the one who said nothing, but knew everything. At night, I whispered to myself, this is only the start. He thinks he is clever, but I am already ahead. Sometimes fear whispered back, what if he finds out? What if someone discovers it was you? But anger was louder. It drowned out the fear, because every time I remembered his smile, every time I remembered her name on his lips, I felt the fire again. And I knew I could not stop. The more I planned, the more alive I felt, the more powerful I became. Because I was no longer the broken wife. I was no longer the victim. I was the one in control now. And soon, he would know it. He thought he was living 2 lives. But I was already turning them against each other. Piece by piece, lie by lie, step by step. The first moves were small, but the consequences were growing. His boss doubted him. His mistress worried. And he was slowly losing balance. And that was exactly what I wanted. Because a man off balance falls faster. And when he falls, I will be waiting. The The small games were over. The little strikes had worked. But now, it was time for something bigger. Something that would shake his world. I waited for the right moment. Because revenge is not only about anger. It is about timing. One wrong move, and the whole plan can fall apart. That night, he left for work again. But I knew he was meeting her, so I followed, slow, silent, like a shadow. I saw them, laughing in the cafe, her hand brushing his smile wide, and my heart cracked again. But instead of breaking, it turned harder, colder, sharper. I took pictures, many pictures, each one a weapon, each one a truth he could not deny. When I went home, I printed them out, slipped them into an envelope, and the next morning, I mailed it to his boss. Yes, to his boss. The man who trusted him. The man who believed his lies. The man who already had doubts. It was risky, very risky, because if anyone found out it was me, everything could fall apart. He could turn violent. His family could blame me. I could lose everything. But I told myself, he already destroyed you. So what else is left to lose? Days passed, and then the storm came. He came home angry, shouting, slamming doors, his face red, his hands shaking. They know, he screamed. My boss, my colleagues, they saw the pictures, someone sent them. I looked at him, silent, innocent, pretending confusion. Pictures? What pictures? I asked softly. He stared at me, searching my face, but he found nothing. Because I had practiced this role, I had become perfect at hiding. That night, he sat in silence, drinking, muttering, his phone buzzing again and again, her name flashing, but he didn't answer, because now, he was trapped. His work reputation was ruined, his colleagues whispered, his boss doubted him, and she, the other woman, was getting restless, scared, unsure of him now. My first big strike had landed, and the cracks were spreading, but with it came danger, because one wrong word, one slip, and he might know it was me. That fear followed me everywhere. When the phone rang, I jumped. When he looked at me too long, I shivered, because maybe he suspected. One night, he asked, "Do you know something about me? About her?" My heart raced, but my face stayed calm. I shook my head. "No, I only know you come home late and I feel lonely." He sighed, looked away, and I knew he didn't believe me fully, but he had no proof. And without proof, he was helpless. Still, the danger grew, because revenge is never clean. It leaves traces. It leaves shadows. And if someone follows those shadows, they can lead back to you. But I couldn't stop now. I was already deep in it, too deep to turn back. And each day, the fire demanded more. Do more, break him more, make him feel what you felt. So I planned again. This time, bigger, darker. I remembered her workplace, the cafe where she often sat, the friends she laughed with, the way she touched his arm. And I thought, what if she lost him? What if she doubted him? What if I could turn her against him too? So I wrote a letter, anonymous, careful, no handwriting, only typed words. Inside, I told her truths, that he was lying to her too, that he was not serious, that he spoke badly of her behind her back, that she was just his distraction, nothing more, and I mailed it directly to her. The risk was greater now, because if she showed him, if he guessed it was me, then everything could explode. For days, I lived with fear, heart racing at every knock, every call, every look from him. But then, it happened. He came home, angry again, shouting louder than before. She won't talk to me. She thinks I betrayed her. Someone told her lies about me. I hid my smile, my victory, because I knew it wasn't lies. It was truth, but truth told in a way that broke him from both sides. Work was crumbling. Love was crumbling. And slowly, he was crumbling too. My first big strike had worked, and the second had made it worse. But with victory came danger, because now he was desperate. A desperate man is dangerous, and I wondered, how long can I keep the secret? How long before he knows it was me? Still, I couldn't stop, because once you taste revenge, you cannot go back. It becomes your breath, your blood, your only reason to live. And so, I waited for the final move, the biggest strike, the one that would end everything. The fire inside me was no longer quiet. It wanted more. It wanted the final blow. I had broken his work. I had shaken his love. But he still stood, still breathing, still lying. I wanted him to fall, completely. Finally, one evening, he came home, tired, drunk, Angry, he shouted again. He threw his phone on the table and stormed into the shower. The phone buzzed, again and again. Her name flashing, her words desperate. Why are you ignoring me? Why are you lying to me? And I smiled coldly, because now, she doubted him too, just like I did. That night, I decided the time had come. No more waiting, no more small strikes. It was time for the final cut. I gathered everything, every receipt, every picture, every message, every proof of his betrayal. I placed them in one file. Neat, clear, deadly. And then, I sent it to his family, to his parents, to his siblings. Yes, the people who thought he was honest, the people who welcomed me into their home, the people who said, "You are lucky to have him." Lucky? No. Broken. Destroyed. When the file reached them, the silence in the house broke. His mother called, her voice shaking. "What is this? Are these true? Did he really betray you?" I whispered softly, "Yes, it is all true." And then, the storm came. He shouted at me, "You've destroyed me. You sent them everything." I looked at him, my voice calm. "You destroyed yourself. I only showed them the truth." His face twisted, red with rage. "You lied to me. You spied on me. You ruined my life." I stood tall and whispered, "You ruined mine first." The words cut him, sharper than any knife, because he knew they were true. From that night, he was no longer the same. His family turned against him. His lover left him. His work doubted him. And his home was filled with silence. But silence was not enough for me. I wanted confrontation. I wanted him to face me, to hear my pain, to feel it like I had felt it. So one night, I sat across from him, the table between us, the air heavy, and I spoke. "You lied to me." His eyes dropped. No excuses. No words. "You broke me." His hands shook, but he stayed quiet. "You promised me love, but gave me betrayal." Finally, his lips moved. "I'm sorry." 2 words. Weak. Empty. Late. I laughed bitterly. "Sorry? Do you think sorry can heal these scars? Do you think sorry can erase your perfume from your shirts? Do you think sorry can give me back the nights I cried alone?" He looked at me, tears in his eyes. But I felt nothing. No pity. No love. Only cold satisfaction. "Now you'll feel what I felt," I whispered. "Lonely, broken, empty." And I stood up, leaving him in silence, because sometimes silence is louder than screams. That night, I realized my revenge was not just about hurting him. It was about reclaiming myself, my voice, my power. And he was already finished, but I was just beginning. The night of silence did not last long, because silence always breaks. The next evening, he came to me, his face pale, his eyes red, and his voice heavy. "You destroyed me," he said. "You sent them everything, my family, my work, my life is gone." I looked at him, calm, cold. "You destroyed yourself. I only showed the truth." He slammed his fist on the table. "Do you hate me that much?" I whispered, "Hate? No, hate is weak. What I feel is deeper." His voice cracked. "What do you want from me? Do you want me to beg? Do you want me to fall on my knees?" I stood up slowly, walked closer, looked into his broken eyes, and said, "I want you to feel everything I felt." He shook his head. "I lost her. I lost my family. I lost respect. What more do you want?" My words cut him. "I want you to lose yourself." He stared at me, silent, shocked, as if he saw a stranger in me. And maybe he did, because I was no longer the woman he married. I was no longer the quiet wife. I was the storm he created. "Why didn't you just leave me?" he asked softly, his voice almost a whisper. "Why destroy me?" My laugh was bitter. "Leave you and let you smile with her? Leave you and let you live happily while I drowned? No, you took everything from me, so I took everything from you." He covered his face with his hands, tears spilling through his fingers. And for a moment, I almost felt pity. Almost. But then, I remembered my nights of crying, my days of doubt, my broken trust, and the pity vanished. He looked up again, his voice sharp. "You are cruel." I leaned closer, my whisper colder. "No, I am fair. Cruelty was what you did. I only returned it." He broke then, his body shaking, his words stumbling. "I can't live like this. I have nothing left." And I whispered back, "Now you understand. Now you feel what I felt." We sat in silence, 2 broken souls, 2 enemies under one roof. And yet, it was not over, because revenge is never clean. It always demands more. It always leaves scars. That night, he packed his things, shoving clothes into a bag, throwing shoes on the floor, his movements wild, angry, lost. Where will you go? I asked softly. Almost curious, he shouted back, anywhere but here. Away from you. I smiled faintly. You can run, but your truth will follow you. Your lies will follow you. Your shame will follow you. He stopped, stared at me, eyes full of rage, and whispered, you are a monster. I stepped closer, my voice sharp. No, I am the mirror. You looked into me and saw yourself. He froze, as if the words pierced deeper than any blade, because he knew it was true. He carried his bag, walked to the door, and for one last moment, he looked back. Was it worth it? He asked, his voice broken, his body shaking. Was your revenge worth it? I stood still, my eyes cold, and whispered, yes. The door slammed, and he was gone, but the echo of his voice, the question, stayed inside me. Was it worth it? I told myself yes, again and again, but deep inside, something whispered, then why do you still feel empty? After he left the house, I thought it was over. I thought my revenge was complete. But revenge never ends so simply, because a broken man does not vanish. He wanders, he falls deeper, and sometimes he drags others down with him. Days passed. The house was quiet. Too quiet. His absence was heavy, but it was also freedom, until one night, the phone rang. It was his sister. Her voice panicked. Come quickly, he is here, he is shouting, he is drunk. I froze. Fear mixed with anger, because even after everything, he still found a way to crawl back into my world. When I arrived, I saw him, standing outside his parents' house, drunk, broken, screaming at the door. They all hate me. You all betrayed me. Even she betrayed me. His mother cried. His father shouted. Neighbors stared. It was chaos, public, ugly, and in that moment, I realized my revenge had not only destroyed him, it had destroyed his family too, the family that once welcomed me, now torn apart by his sins, and by my exposure of them. He saw me then, staggering toward me, his eyes wild, his voice sharp. This is all because of you. You ruined me. You sent them everything. I stood still, my heart racing, but my face calm. He came closer, his breath heavy with alcohol, his hand shaking. Why? Why couldn't you just leave me? Why did you burn everything? I whispered, so you could feel what I felt, so you could know the taste of ashes. He laughed bitterly, a sound between madness and pain. You think you won? Look at me. Look at my family. Look at yourself. Nobody won, everyone lost. His words hit hard, but I didn't show it, because weakness was not allowed in this war. I looked straight into his eyes and whispered, you're right, everyone lost, but you lost the most. The silence that followed was louder than his screams, because the truth was final, unshakable. He dropped to his knees, tears spilling, hands covering his face, and for the first time, I saw not a liar, not a cheater, but a broken man. Please, he whispered, his voice small, tell me what to do. Tell me how to fix this. I shook my head slowly. There is no fixing betrayal. There is no repair for shattered trust. He cried harder, his body collapsing on the ground, and I stood above him, strong, cold, silent. The family watched, the neighbors whispered, and I turned away, because my revenge was complete. He had nothing left, no love, no respect, no dignity, no future. I walked away, leaving him in the dust, leaving him to face himself, because sometimes the worst punishment is to live with the ruins you created. That night, back in my empty home, I sat alone, and his voice echoed in my head. You think you won? Nobody won. Everyone lost. I wanted to ignore it, to bury it, but it stayed, like a scar inside my mind. Yes, I had taken my revenge. I had destroyed him, but in the process, I had burned everything around me too. Revenge had no winners, only ruins, only scars. Still, when I closed my eyes and remembered his betrayal, his laughter with her, his lies in my face, I whispered to myself, it was worth it. After the storm came silence, but silence is not always peace. Sometimes it is emptiness. The house was mine now. No shouting, no lies, no perfume that was not mine, only quiet walls, only empty rooms. At first, I told myself I was free, free from his betrayal, free from his lies, free from the nights of crying alone. And yes, in some ways, it felt true. I could breathe without fear. I could sleep without waiting. I could wake without watching his phone. But inside, a question lived. Was I really free? Or had I chained myself to something darker? I had destroyed him. Yes, his work, his family, his love, his pride, all gone because of me. And I told myself again and again, he deserved it. He betrayed me. He left me broken. But when the night grew deep and the house felt colder, a voice whispered inside me, if he destroyed you, then why did you destroy yourself too? Because revenge is not clean. It burns everything, even the one holding the fire. I looked in the mirror one morning, and I did not see the woman I once was. Not the wife who laughed at his jokes. Not the girl who dreamed of a new beginning. I saw a stranger. Eyes sharp, face cold, a heart heavy with ashes. Yes, I had won. But what is victory if it feels like loss? His family never called me again. Not with love, not with blame, only silence. And that silence felt heavier than their anger. Neighbors still whispered, "Did you hear? She destroyed her husband's life." Some said I was brave. Some said I was cruel. But none of them knew the nights I cried, the scars I carried, the emptiness that followed. I sat often in the same chair where I once waited for him to come home. And I thought, was it worth it? The answer changed each day. Some days I whispered yes, because I remembered his betrayal, his lies, his laughter with her, and anger still burned. But other days, I whispered no, because the house was empty, my heart was colder, and nothing felt whole again. Revenge gave me power, yes, but it also took something away, something I could never get back. I realized then that revenge is not about peace. It is about survival. When you are broken, you need something to hold you up. And for me, that something was revenge. It gave me strength when I had none. It gave me purpose when I felt lost. It gave me fire when I was drowning in darkness. But once it was over, once the fire burned out, only smoke remained, only scars remained. I sometimes wondered if I had chosen differently, if I had left quietly, if I had built a new life in silence, would I have found peace instead of emptiness? Maybe, maybe not. But one thing I knew for sure, I could never go back. The past was ashes, the marriage was dust, and I was no longer the woman who entered it with hope. I was different now, changed forever, by betrayal, by revenge, by the war between love and hate. And so, I made peace with the only truth I had left. Some revenge satisfies, others leave scars, and mine left both. Yes, I had satisfied the fire inside me, but I also carried scars. Scars no one could see, scars no time could heal. And maybe that is the price of betrayal. Not just the breaking of trust, but the breaking of souls. His soul, and mine. Now, when I walk alone, I tell myself, I survived. Not perfectly, not peacefully, but I survived. And survival is sometimes the only victory we get. If you've stayed with me until the end, thank you for listening to this story. Stories like this are not just about betrayal, they are about the choices we make when love and pain collide. I'd love to hear your thoughts. Have you ever faced a moment where trust was broken? How did it change you? Share your feelings in the comments, because sometimes telling your story is the first step to healing. And if this touched you, stay connected for more stories like this.